letter edition. Big loader. We can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah. It's not a song, I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. Before I finish breathing, I'm moving the masses like minister speeches, penning classics as I finish my thesis. Not a pastor or a preacher, my passion is deeper. Rapper / teacher, trying to master the teachings past the sinister streets and moving bags past the police is speeding fast in the evening. The truth is, it's all about eating, but I'm feeding food for thought for those either fasting or feasting. Putting faith in my beliefs when I'm speaking, looking straight till I'm decent, at peace with no fear, believing it's real. I tell them it's heaven, but it's hard when you talking to niggas with no ears. From clouds of chronic coughing and sessions off, walking and stressing, straight lost in the essence. I pause for a second with my thoughts and reflections. I take my losses as lessons, but it's all just a blessing, and that's the mess. We can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me, yeah, we can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me. In an instant, friendship seeing quick in the music business. It used to be just music, now it's just business. The relentless pursuit for loot, dividends and interest, hidden agendas, leaving you defenseless against them. Not to mention intentions to benefit from you penning authentic sentences. Shit for the spinach, niggas that did it. Listen, while you scribbling, picturing images of living on premises, surrounded by fences and different women in silky linens, bending and grinning, intended rentals, you slipping, cause these Vicks is out, tricking your chips in. The game's cutthroat, rules was laid back in the day before rappers got paid by sponsors that slung dope. And shit ain't really changed beside the amount of change the game. Famous names so these lames can front, so I change the game. See my future through the blunt smoke so high, looking at my future through the blunt smoke. We can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me, yeah, we can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me, I'm invincible, guarded by two identical, invisible guardian angels that guard every angle of my physical frame. Spiritual miniature ministers whispering, keeping me on the top of my game. Lessons to gain, pleasure and pain. Like my eyes, they reside on the left and right side of my brain. Quietly praying, navigating my aspirations, passing calculated statements while I'm grabbing my flame. Wasted in the basement, pacing, placing words on pages, blazing my merch to the face. I'm blowing life in the air. I sold my soul to the Lord for a price of a prayer. Yeah, so my nights can be clear when I sit still, writing this will in his likeness, like him, cause I'm knowing he'll save me. He told me to spit and don't let the devil take the gifts that he gave me. We can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me, yeah, we can chop it up, get our profits up, get this dust. If you just rotate with me, yeah, it's not a song. I'm trying to put you on to what I'm on. If you just rotate with me.
That's why we shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go, Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what the cop said. I'm living a legacy, so even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead. Fuck with me.
I don't know. Great afternoon to you wonderful people. Welcome to this, what's today, too? Wednesday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from inside the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Herb Howard in the production studio, as you could already tell. One and only LaRon Rilla. Therefore, we here when we here. But he's doing his best, and we're not going.
He's producing. We're having technical
We're
difficulties.
not going. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to hold it against him too much. But bear with us. Ron is back. Anyhow, thank y'all so much for tuning in each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 and 3 p.m. We are right here, and we are with you guys, and we're discussing issues currently impacting the black community, how those issues impact us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through many of these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, we want to overcome them as individuals, but perhaps more importantly, we want to overcome them as a collective. So again, thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to tune in. As always, your input is valued. It is appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the broadcast. We would kindly request that you share the broadcast. Share it on your personal page. Share it even within your personal network with absolutely anyone that you think would add value to or find value in this particular conversation, because we think the more like-minded individuals we can get to be a part of it, the better the opportunity we have of reaching those solutions that I talked about a minute ago. So please, 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 if you would be so kind, share the broadcast. Again, this is I Said What I Said. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest on a hump day Wednesday. My name is Herb. His name is Two. What's happening, good brother?
What's up, family? I'm blessed and highly favored. Tired, you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
It be like
man,
that.
Before we even go too far into this, man, I need your opinion.
What's the word, good brother?
So I get a call this morning from my daughter's school, right? And they're saying, hey, man, we need to talk to her mother. And I said, talk to her mother about what?
Right.
And they was like, well, her attendance. So as I told you, Bella's the actual bad one. She just don't get in trouble type of deal. But apparently she's been cutting digital class lately, right? And I ain't even tripping. You know, I'm that kind of parent. Like, all right, man, get it together. Bella's grades is all right, but I'm like, get it together, right?
Sure.
But that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is that they called and got me. They said they tried to call her mom. She didn't answer the phone, and they got me.
Right.
And they was like, we're trying to set up a conversation with her mother. And I said, with her mother specifically for what? I said, you got me. I'm her parent. What are you trying to talk to her mother about? And then they broke it down to the attendance thing. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. We had that conversation. And she was like, well, she wanted to talk to her mother. I said, wait a minute. I'm confused. Why do we need to talk to her mother? You're talking to
Are you
me.
in charge of the girls?
Are you in charge of the girl? It was really that kind of a conversation. Like, man, who you think you talking to?
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, man, you don't have to talk to her mother. You're talking to me.
Right.
I was really offended by that.
Yeah. We live in a society now where regardless of the situation, whether regardless of both parents being present or there's a co-parent situation or like co-custody, like shared custody, whatever it is, we live in a space now where it's like the mother is always the primary parent. Like this is regardless of how involved and active the father is, mother is primary. And so you get to a space where even if I call and say, hey, is the mom available? No, this is dad. Yeah, okay, I asked for mom though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, that, but
What?
I'm paying for this. Like, you see me come in there and drop that money out every month. What do you mean? The audacity?
oh yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, man.
you don't matter. You're not my dad.
You're not my dad. for real.
You don't. You do not matter, man. I'm trying to get the screen mirror to work in here. I can't catch it. But while this thing is on the screen for this other show, let me ask you about. Have you seen this stuff going on with Joe Budden and his podcast? Because you listen to it, right? Do you listen to the Joe Budden podcast?
I do. I haven't been. What's new?
I don't know.
If I'm up to abreast of what's going on.
Full disclosure, I've never listened to the podcast. I mean, I've heard snippets of it. Obviously, I've seen some clips here and there, but I've never listened to it. But apparently, you know, they had been going through the whole thing where they stopped. They split, right? So they stopped. He brought some other people in, right? And then I saw them post a picture or something where they was like back together. And then like today, I started hearing like it's completely blown up now. Like Joe Budden like spazzed and said some shit about the other dudes. Excuse me. Now it's like completely done. I want to have a conversation with you about it because I was in a Twitter space earlier and they was talking about it. And again, I've never seen it, but somebody asked me because we have a podcast. They asked me about these type of situations and how that kind of plays out. And my answer was simply that as long as you remember like why you doing it, then let that be your North Star to guide your decisions that you make. And if you do that, then wherever you and your partners disagree at, that will kind of guide y'all back to the center space. And I think that it seems ultimately what's happening to them is that it's turned into a different thing than why they started, right? And so you can either start it to say, yo, I want to have this important conversation. Yo, I want to put out quality content. Yo, I want to have this entertaining conversation. Or you can say, yo, I'm trying to get famous or I'm trying to get rich. And none of them is wrong. I'm not placing judgment on wherever you get into it. I am saying that if you and your partner are in it for different reasons, it's doomed from the start and it's going to blow up in your face at some point. Or if y'all go into it for the same reasons, but then it changes. Like y'all go into it because we just want to have this entertaining conversation, right? And then, boom, it blows up and now it's all this money on the table. Now it becomes a thing like, well, now I'm in it for the bread and not so much the conversation. And then you start to have these other different issues. I just think that if you are clear about why you got into it and you committed to stay in that lane, that should navigate you through all the BS that is inevitably going to pop up.
Yeah. I'm going to go with now.
Okay. What you say? Because I'm taking notes. Hey, Ron, this might be our last show. Okay, so hit the record on this one because he about to say some wild shit.
Just so we clear, I fired her several times already. He just won't go away.
I came in here yesterday using my fucking seat. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Get out of my seat.
No, but I think it's a nod to how capitalism works. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Early on, even when we was doing this, man, I was talking to a PR friend of mine, and I'm not gonna say her name, but you know her. Mm-hmm. Indeed. You know,
super dope.
And I introduced you to her eventually. You know, and I was like, hey, man, she had needed me to. You know, we got to kind of, I scratch your back, you scratch my back relationship kind of anyway. Yeah. So I was like, man, I might need you to do something for the podcast, this, that, and the third. And we just had a conversation. And she hadn't paid no attention to the podcast at all. Didn't even know it existed. It wasn't. So that was maybe, you know, I don't know, a year ago maybe I had that conversation. Not up until recently did she start paying attention to the podcast. You know, she was like, man, the podcast is dope, man. Y'all got a good chemistry. Y'all, yeah, down the line. You know, and she was having this kind of similar conversation with me because she was like, man, you all should do, you could take, she's a big idea person, right? So immediately it's like, ooh, this could be on this and that could go here and this. And I was like, no, pump your brakes. That's not really the goal. You know, the goal is to control and have ownership going forward, right? And we build organically, right? But she's still pumping her big idea. No, that's not, no, you know. And I don't know how to the conversation transition, but she got into something about me and you specifically. And I was like, no, man, you know, I love her. And I said, I think the general success of this shit is really just based on our camaraderie more so than, right? Because we, you know, if we being honest, right? Like we come in here and not just in here, even when we started this, it's kind of off the cuff. This shit ain't really planned out. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just what the conversation is. So I was like, we don't do none of that shit. Now, on the back end, I'm laughing, but her be honest and tell you too. I'm in her ass like, no, we gotta. So I'm recognizing that we need to grow in ourselves. You know what I mean? And but in the conversation with her, she's like, well, as long as y'all got that kind of relationship, y'all gonna succeed no matter what. Right. And I'm with it at some levels. I think that's the birthing or the seed that has to be planted. But just like anything, just any other relationship, you know what I mean? You got to grow together. You got to grow consistently, right? And if it doesn't grow consistently and there's a goal on the table or not a goal on the table, right, it can go either way. Right. You know what I mean? That don't mean you lose respect for the person. Now, when you just said the Joe Budden joint, I pulled up just the internet, what's happening with Joe Budden, and I don't know the details of it, but it was like he fired XYZ on air. But just like you said, because I watch it, I'm a fan of it, there was a conversation that happened, and here's that, you know, who knows what really went on behind closed doors. Right. But they left, they came back, they was having a conversation on air about how it all went when they came back. Now, before they left, it was some toxic energy that you could see in the conversations. Rory invited to whoop Joe's ass a few times on air. You know what I mean? Now they got a relationship, so
Sure.
even that comes off
Right,
right.
he.
But it's
as
really,
men, you still
man,
know, like, hey,
I whoop your
we
ass.
at that point now.
Yeah, it's at that point where we got to do something about whatever's going on here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm through talking. We probably need to whoop.
Can you whoop my ass,
Can you
though?
whoop my ass at this point? You know what I mean? For the audience, that might read one way, but for men in a relationship,
It's understandable.
that's part of it. You know,
It's-
sometimes that's part of it.
yeah, it's
so
par
you
for
can
the course,
you
for
can
sure.
get beyond that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the context, though, when they come back, they have a whole nother conversation. And they all kept saying, well, you know, it's not about money. Well, money don't matter, and this, that, and the third. And Joe Budden said to them, the hell it don't. This is my dream.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I've sacrificed my life
Right.
putting this shit in this port. And it's called the Joe Budden Podcast.
Right.
It's not the Joe Budden and Rory and Maul podcast.
Right.
But whatever that private communication is, he was privately communicating it like it's us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And until when he started to grow the way he grew,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? In his mind too, it might have been like, I need them. It's us.
Yeah.
They leave. He pulls two randoms in and sees, I could do numbers without them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the right thing or the wrong thing. But they say Joe Budden is a narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at some levels, would you have to be some level of narcissistic to be in the public eye like that?
That's it is. I hate that.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you got to be a narcissist to be in the public eye like that
No, you don't.
at some level?
No.
You know, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I mean, and I get the argument. You hear the same argument with like, you know, presidents or politicians in general. Like, oh, you want to lead everything. Like, you gotta. There's got to be something to be like. I want to be president of the whole fucking country. You know what I mean? That being said, I do think that you can be in those spaces and not be approaching it from this kind of narcissistic standpoint. I don't necessarily think that is, necessary, right? I think that you can operate in that space without kind of moving in that particular way. Now, I think that it's imperative that you are honest and open and transparent with your partners from jump, and then just continue to be. So again, things will evolve, right? Things will evolve and grow into other things and different shit. But during those spaces, it's important that you continue to fucking stay on the same page with your partner, communicate, and in fact, I referenced how, one day earlier this week or last week, whenever it was, I was like, when I'm out or somebody sees me or has anything to do with the show, they like, yo, where's Toussaint? And I'm like, yo, it's fucking 8 p.m. on a Sunday. I have no fucking idea where Toussaint is. You know what I'm saying? But the perspective is that like we are in this like pseudo marriage where it's like y'all are inextricably linked at all times. It's like, no, right? But just like in any other partnership, it is important that we be on the same page. And so as shit changes, we came in here and we was like, yo, we should have a conversation about the fucking black community and shit. We should have a conversation about the work we was doing. And then we had the fucking conversation. And then people started listening to the conversation. And they was like, okay, well, let's do this with it or let's do that with it. And it just kept continuing to expand as people, began to tune into it, like, and I mean, like, well before we came to What's in It for the Black People Media, as that thing continued to grow, it's like, yo, this, like, it's becoming a different kind of thing. And so then you got to have conversations with us, like, okay, well, what we trying to do with it? Are we trying to do something with this thing? Are we not trying to do something with this thing? And then you stay on the same page. And so when shit comes, it's like, okay, well, let's make hoodies, right? Okay, we'll produce hoodies and see who wants them. And then they all sold out in the 3 hours that we was on the air. And we like, yo, like, what the fuck? Okay, like, now we got to have other conversations and make sure we are still on the same page. Or when it's like, yo, we not going to curse for this month. And then everybody who support the show is like, yes, the fuck you are going to curse. And if we got to pay for it, we will. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, right? Now this thing ain't just us. Like, it's more conversations to have. And I think that we've been able to be honest in our points of disagreement, honest in our differing perspectives. And because we respect each other enough and neither one of us is like, so cowardly that we can't be like, yo, you got to fucking do this shit, or you got to fucking do this shit, or not do this shit, or not do that. And I think that because we're also, while we are both, you know, willing and able to speak up that way, we're also humble enough to be like, nah, bro, I hear you on that, right? I hear you on that. I see that too, and then you can move forward. But I think that if you aren't constantly having those conversations at every new milestone of whatever you're doing, podcast, marriage, business, whatever the fuck it is, right? If you aren't constantly having those conversations at each new step, then eventually you're going to get lost. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you enter a marriage at year 1, and then if we ain't had no conversations by year 10, year 15, year 20, that we still on the same understanding. That's just not fucking possible. And so you got to have those conversations. I don't think that they've had them, but not just have them, right? You got to have them honestly, authentically, and transparently. Not from a space to say, well, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, or I'm trying to keep it. Nah, like you got to say really what you feel and really how you want, and then we either can converse about that, figure out the best way to move in that space and advance, or we should probably be like, yeah, this probably went as far as it's going to go, because it's doomed after that anyway, and then you end up having a messy-ass blow-up where, if nothing else, you had 3 dudes, or at least 2.5 dudes who was like friends. You know what I'm saying? And now y'all dragging each other and doing all this petty shit because y'all couldn't communicate. Y'all communicating quite well now via the fucking internet.
I think the key is respect, though, right? What you just said. And
Yeah.
again, we talking about the Joe Buttons and whoever else, Rory and Maul relationship, but the key is just relationship.
Yeah.
And respect, though. So again, like I said, the white guy introduced his hands to Joe several times in the weeks preceding dude leaving. Now that's what's being publicly viewed, but I'm sure that shit arose out of something private.
Private, yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Also, the white guy was going through a divorce or something like that, and I think Joe was making a mockery of that shit
Oh, that's terrible.
on air.
That's terrible.
Right. But again, it's knowing where to draw the line of respect.
Yeah.
This shit isn't content for this platform.
Right.
For the white guy.
Right.
Right? But for Joe Buttons, in the way he looks at it, in the way he sees the world, is like, more shit to talk about.
Like nah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
But that's a respect thing as well.
It's a respect thing. Like I respect you enough to not even do that. You know what I'm saying? We have all kinds of wild conversations on I Said What I Said, right? And specifically as you talking about it being a divorce issue, right? That's like on a Friday. On Friday, we say the wildest shit ever, right? And while we give our perspectives, it's never going to be like, well, tell us about that thing you told me about. You know what I'm saying? Like that's fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and just because Herb knows me, everything I say on this goddamn microphone is general.
Right.
None of this shit personal.
Right.
Herb will let y'all into his life a little more personally than I will. But
Yeah.
we laughed about this last week, but you called me on the Instagram thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, people that know me can see this? I'm out of here, fam.
Hey, that shit was so funny because
I'm outta here.
while you was loading them, like, he don't know how to get in this motherfucker.
I know. I don't do that. You
Right.
know what I mean? And, I could hear y'all talk about me as I was trying to figure that out. But in the conversation, I'm seeing names pop up that I know personally.
It's associated to you
It's
and not necessarily to me.
And they're not just random.
Right.
Like, wait, what's happening here?
Yeah.
They can see this? I was like, man, I'm out of here, Joe. You know what I mean? Because it's a free flowing conversation.
Yeah.
It's not driven around a topic. It's not driven around understanding. And I know that'll go anyway. And I don't invite people into my life like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's personal is personal. What's public is public. And I can pretty much maneuver that fairly
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But I'm not gonna make my real life or my real experiences content or fodder for other people's entertainment. That's
Right.
just not my thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So going back to the Joe and Rory joint, if that's what was the trigger, I get it. But here's what I will say about all three of them when I saw them kind of reconcile and had that show. The only one that I kind of respect, though, is the Maul, the kind of guy who wasn't involved in the conflict in the first place. So Joe Budden apparently hit, and it's 3 of them, so Joe Budden's apparently hit Maul, the white guy, Rory, was like, hey, you need to take some time off. And
Right.
Maul, the white guy, calls the other guy Maul. He said, hey, man, he just told me I need to take some time off. This is where the disruption is, and there's no communication, no understanding. So Maul says, how does he tell you to take time off?
Right. On his own. Like, he can't just make that decision by
Right. It's
himself.
not his platform.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But obviously there's some misunderstanding. It's his platform. Obviously you don't understand your partnership.
My 8th grade coach used to say this. He used to say it a certain way all the time. And he'd be like, we are having a severe failure to communicate. Like he would say it all the time. Like he say something, we didn't move fast enough. We are having and then everybody get in line. But that's all this is though. But I think that's all should be in breakdowns of relationships. There's a failure to communicate somewhere. Right. And even if even if what the issue is to be communicated about, even if we get to that point and realize that, OK, this is actually irreconcilable. OK, and then we figure out how to move on from there. I think more often than that, before we even get to determining whether or not this is irreconcilable, our failure to communicate doesn't even allow us to address it properly. And I think that's where they like Joe got to be like, yo, Ma, your man's is wilding. I don't want him around for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all talk about it, right? And then y'all come to whatever conclusion y'all come to. And it very well may be the conclusion comes to like, nah, you wild, and if you're going to proceed like that, then I'm out too. Like ultimately what ended up happening, but
here, that kind of what happened, but not really.
Okay.
So Maul was like, who is he to tell you to take a break?
Right.
So what Maul does is he addresses Joe. Like, who do you think you are to tell him to take time off? And they have whatever conversation they have. And then Maul says, respectable, right? Respectable. He says, well, if that's how you feel about it, I'm taking a break too. Right. I'm rocking with Rory.
Right.
Now, Maul is Joe's day one friend.
Right.
Rory's kind of an add-on.
Right.
But out of just being forthright and feeling, standing on some principles,
right?
Maul was like, that's not what we on. And because of that, I'ma chill then.
Right.
And it'll be what it'll be. Right. Now going back to it, Joe says this is where I make my money. You know what I mean? Not to say it's not where the other ones make their money or not either. I don't know.
Right.
But he said this is where I make my money. I got to find a way to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So he does whatever he does, and they go back to it, and now I see that there's this whole new blow up. But that's capitalism, right? It dictates, again, what did I say? The social dynamics and the social engineering of whatever the culture is you're in usually dictates the terms of your relationship.
Right.
Right? So Maul was operating off a different paradigm. We friends, and that's more important to me. Back to the B statement. This ain't a sacrifice because this wasn't my value in the first place. Maul says hey, this isn't a sacrifice, so this is more important to me than us putting out content.
Right.
So I can stand on the principle. That's what's that principle is what's important to me.
Right.
So because of that, I'm gonna fall back and we're gonna work this out.
Right.
However we got to work it out. If the show don't emerge out of this, I'm cool with that.
And whatever, right?
But this is more important to me. They get back on air and they hash that out, and I realize immediately that Maul is the only one with that principle. Right? So again, it's like, what do you value?
That's it.
Right? And it's the social dynamic. So what I was saying about in general, going back to capitalism and how it works, I've had several entrepreneurial ventures. You know what I mean? We're in Chicago, so when you start thinking about like Chicago fashion and all that, right? All the dudes that you could name in this city that matter.
Right.
All of them. You understand me? At some level came up under the Toussaint umbrella. Maybe all of them with the exception of like Corey from Leaders. I might have came up under Corey and Diego's umbrella, but everybody else after that we leveraged each other in some way. And early on in that industry, everybody had to come through me because just of my skill set. But I was having a young family. I wasn't playing. You know what I mean? So when somebody showed up playing, I ain't got time to play, fam. Right. You know what I mean? And over the years, our relationships went different ways. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I was right, but I just didn't. My focus, capital was very important to me. Right. So I'm not. You can't forget to make this call. You can't. Right. I ain't saying that. No, man. Right. No. Right. If we is only as strong as the weakest link in this chain. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So if you're not moving at the speed I'm moving at, then I got to find somebody who can. I got to move around. Right. You know what I mean? As I've matured and settled into life, that's not as important to me anymore. In the same way, let's say that. Sure. Not in the same way.
Sure, but ideally, you are trying to find that sweet spot, right? Between doing what you enjoy doing and having it compensate you comfortably, right? And I think that it's like, I think that a lot of times we come from this thing and it's like, either you trying to get to the bag or you like, fuck money. And I'm like, nah, it's the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, right? To where, nah, money ain't more important than my relationships, but also I am leveraging my relationships and motivating the people that I'm in those relationships with to move towards making things profitable, right? And I think that if you can find that sweet spot, then that's where you want to be, right? To where you can be like, yeah, okay, yeah, we definitely want to figure out how to make I Said What I Said profitable. But one thing we ain't gonna do for sure is give up creative control or ownership of it, and we also ain't finna fucking kill each other about it. Like, then how it grows is next, because if it gets flipped, then that's exactly how the priorities go. Money comes before the partnership, and fuck you.
But at some levels too, though, we say respect, we say communication. That's all well. Mm-hmm. But at some of it, though, it might just be what in the concept is rooted in, what is rooted in general, right? So, i.e., a marriage, i.e., a family, i.e., a relationship. Mm-hmm. If I'm rooted in just getting some sex, how you communicate is never going to fulfill what I'm rooted in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if we have a family and I'm rooted in to understand the family that you're not rooted in,
right,
you can communicate to the end of time.
100%.
If we're not rooted in the same concepts,
100%,
eventually we're going to find a roadblock.
Yeah.
Right? So going back to that show, going back to how this started, they're in an entertainment-based kind of construct. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's funny, man, before we actually got up, before Ron figured out the technical difficulties, us two and Gino and T was in here talking. Mm-hmm. And Gino and T was like, man, I'm a fan. I tune into y'all show all the time. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'd be amazed at how oftentimes it's really just one conversation, but y'all find new ways to explore how to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So even when we start thinking about where this started from, it started from things that we was already interested in, that we was doing separately, rooted in the same kind of constructs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that construct has a bigger purpose than us. The idea is bigger than us. It's bigger than profiting for this podcast. Right. It's bigger than being vocal on air somewhere. You know what I mean? We are rooted in these ideas in our lives structurally. So when we leave here, it's not like we abandon this kind of concept.
Right. Right.
Well, entertainment in general is a little bit different. You know, what do I have to create to make this palatable for the masses, for them to laugh or have fun or for me to profit?
Right.
It's so whatever you can leverage to get to that reaction, most people leverage it. Like when you go to a concert, it's not so much the same today, but think about back in the day, there was performance outfits for concerts.
100%.
It's just that. It's a
performance. Right.
That's not necessarily who those people are. It's not necessarily what they're rooted in. It's not necessarily something they care about in that way.
But to that point, if you don't have those conversations and you aren't honest and communicate openly, you're just going to end up in a miserable situation that is going to be doomed from the start anyway. When the Lock signed with Bad Boy and Diddy put them in shiny suits like he was putting Mace in, that shit was doomed from the start. Them three rugged ass niggas from Yonkers, like they ain't finna. And I'm talking about on both sides. It ain't just Diddy. It's them too. In fact, I would say it's them especially. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like nah, y'all jeans and Timbs niggas. This man got y'all in 3-piece suits and shiny blow up dolls shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that ain't gonna work for y'all. And so eventually that's gonna blow up because y'all gonna be like, yo, the niggas where we from, they doing real shit. You know what I'm saying? Rough Riders is up. They got on jeans and Timbs, fam. They riding motorcycles and walking pit bulls down the street. That's us. We over here in fucking snakeskin shoes and shit, feeling weird as hell.
But what happens if the shiny suit works?
That's the problem. That's why they did it in the first place. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mace was blowing up out of Harlem, right? Okay. Mace like, okay, but let me bring them. And they're like, ooh, this, glitz, glamour, cool, do that. And then they'll get to the thing, they're like, hey, yo, put on the fucking aluminum foil suit. And they like, I can see Styles right now, like nigga, what? And then Kish like, yo.
Well, how many of us are wearing the shiny suits
every day, my G?
To survive.
Every day.
And i.e., the reason why the name of this podcast is I Said What I Said. Mm-hmm. The whole construct is fuck your standard.
Period.
That's the whole construct, right? Even the fact that I just said fuck your standard is really saying fuck your standard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all based in that construct of being in control, and that's us having this kind of similar concept and identity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Joe Buttons is a rapper. Mm-hmm. Maul is Big's Berk's little brother. Mm-hmm. Rory is like a party promoter. All of them have their feet rooted somewhere in that industry.
Right.
They're all trying to come up off capital. It's all capital driven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to doodle on the conversation because I'm not that in tune with it. But what other goal could you be trying to? What could you be trying to grow out of that?
But even that, G, I'm saying even that, if y'all are unified in that, it should be okay, right? Maybe. Y'all should be able to talk y'all way through the shit until Joe Budden is like, yo, this is the Joe Budden podcast, fam. This is
but
not.
I don't know if you talk your way through it. And I think and the reason why I pulled back on that is because when I think about the conversation that we have here about what culture means, what identity means, I think the fact that in a lot of instances, black people lack for identity, right? Sure. So what we do is find ourselves flailing around trying to attach ourselves to an identity. Right? Because it's something new every time. You think about it, right? When jazz was the dominant music genre of the time, people wore certain kind of clothes. It influenced how they dressed. It influenced how they moved. It influenced the language. Sure. Right? When it was
hip-hop in the 90s, we all wore big dumbass clothes.
It influenced everything, right? Today, there's tight clothes. But the music, when the music shifts, so does said culture, right? Now, why is that? Because in most instances, our celebrity class, our entertainment class, is the class that looks like they're solidified in the American construct, i.e. they're getting money.
Yes, sir.
Right? We don't really see that too many other places. So that becomes our anchoring of an identity for that moment in time. It shifts. I hate when people say hip-hop is a culture. It's really not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, but it's what we're flailing and so, not anchored into anything. Right. We're trying to catch on. Now, we can leverage that against any other genre or any other ethnicity, right? Right now, I was just talking to one of my son's teammates' fathers. He's a Hispanic guy from California. He's just visiting and seeing his son. He was like, man, we used to break dance and all this, that, and the third. And he was like, then the Filipinos came. Now, he's a California cat, so it's a different experience. Right. But he was like, then the Filipinos came and they could break dance better than everybody. Now, think about that. This is a dance genre that arose up out of our institution, our culture. Sure. And he got some validity in what he's saying, because if you look at TV, it's the Filipinos that's doing all this, right? Sure. But you don't equate that to Filipino culture. No. Although they dominate the genre right now. Because they're rooted and steeped in something totally different. You know what I mean? Yeah. We not. Whatever the genre is at the moment, we all in. Right. Because we're not rooted in an identity that's bigger than. So going back to the Rory show versus what's going on here, this conversation started in the idea that's bigger than us. Right? Exactly. It's way bigger than us, right? And it's about confronting this idea to help our community find a identity. Right. They're confronting the conversation about the Filipino breakdance, and they're trying to get rooted and steeped in the capital of the production. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, no, it's completely different. I mean, we didn't even have a desire to do this shit. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we were just doing what we was doing, and we had certain conversations all the time. It was like, well, let's have these conversations out loud. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that we both understood that in our estimation, there's extreme value in saying, fuck your standard, right? Like let that shit go and fuck that shit. And then as we have these conversations, and it was just me and you having conversations when and wherever, it was like, this major news story happened, this major news story happened, and we would always approach it like, fuck that shit. Like, we don't have to move that way. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that as more and more things happen and we have conversations about them here on I Said What I Said, it's really just a reflection of us just, again, saying, like, we don't have to conform to those societal norms. Not in our personal relationships, not in our finances, not in our professional relationships, none of that shit. And so when you hear me speak unapologetically about my, personal, like, romantic relationships, or you hear us speak unapologetically about business relationships, or how other people show up to their business relationships in terms of, changing their speech pattern and voice inflection and their posture and all this other stuff. Like, we trying to get us as a collective to be like, yo,
we good enough.
We are good enough as we are. Like, you don't have to do that shit. And furthermore, doing that shit isn't even netting us anything, right? The statistics will tell you that. And so we'll bring the statistics and say that isn't even netting us anything. I can see if we were winning by doing that. We're doing all that, and we still are not winning. And so there's another way that this can be done, to just be like, yeah, fuck that shit, fam.
But confronting that is hard. Period. Right? Being true to yourself is difficult.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing, and I would argue that the vast majority of people struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know, that conversation we had a few months ago when you talked about the relationship with your father or the lack of existence of the relationship with your father, and I talked about the relationship with my mother or the lack of relationship with my mother.
Definitely the heaviest show we've had this month.
Absolutely, but there's something that came out of that for
Personally
me,
heavy,
specifically. Right, and it wasn't that it came out of the show, but specifically me confronting the relationship I have with my mother
Sure.
gave me something. You know what I mean? It promoted me personally. You know, it made me see the world in a different light. It made me see myself in a different light. It also, these are private conversations that me and you have had hundreds of times about our own behaviors.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, this is some fuck shit.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? And I had to call myself on, hey, that's some fuck shit.
Yeah.
Right? But had I not confronted the relationship with my mother, would I even recognize that was some fuck shit? So being true to yourself is a struggle. Right? And I got to be honest, right? My mother passed away after a year of me not speaking to her. Right? So that weighed heavy on my chest in a certain kind of way.
Sure.
Which in turn forced me to look at myself in a certain kind of way.
Sure.
Now let's erase the way it happened and all that shit.
100%.
Do I confront myself? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But the way the universe set it all up for it to happen, and it forced me to look myself in the mirror and confront myself hard, but beneficial. You know what I mean? Joe Buttons. And I see people in the comments hating on Joe. I'm a fan of Joe musically. I think Joe is super dope. I'm a fan of Joe. I think he's bright as hell. You know what I mean? I think he's bright as shit. You know? And I also, in his brightness, I recognize his arrogance and all the other shit that go with it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But I got a certain level of value for that kind of cat. He's a disruptor. That's valuable.
He is.
You know what I mean? That's valuable. But at the same time, too, it's like, it's almost a Kanye conversation. He's like, you know, what'd he say? This arrogance is the fuel that I use to fuel my dreams.
Yeah.
Right? So if I succumb to the regular humility that you all expect me to have, do I achieve the things I personally trying to achieve?
Right.
It's a balance, I guess.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, there's absolutely a balance that you got to be able to strike. And I think that, you know, I don't know, it's a journey. Everybody finds it, right? Everybody finds it for themselves. For me, I think that I have to get to a space of understanding, okay, cool, you want to live out loud and unapologetically. Got it, right? But then I also have to kind of check myself and for where I'm holding myself accountable for, okay, when does I'm not conforming to these constructs turn into I'm not really producing in the way I want to produce? You know what I mean? Like I'm not really getting the shit done I want. Like, and it's like a balance there between like, yeah, okay, is this fuck that, or is this I don't feel like doing that? You know what I mean?
But again,
and where do those things overlap?
the social construct, right? How far can you go being true to yourself? Think about that shit, right? Ali said, I'm not going to Vietnam. The white man said, well, then that's the end of your life. I'm going to shut down your career. I'm going to shut down your opportunity. I'm going to shut down your money. I'm going to shut down everything.
Right.
He was trying to be true to what he believed himself to be.
Right.
Even to going back to the beach statement, right? Let's look at the social construct and the kind of sacrifices a human being has to make to just be that human being.
Just to be who you was put here to be.
Just to be who you was put here to be. Now I'm using Ali, and I can use Beach and the Ali Summit and all that shit because those are high-profile events. But the high-profileness of the event doesn't change how the shit affects all of us on a very social level.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, right? I'm standing on what I believe, and there's consequences to what you believe. So even in the conversation, then one word changed the whole perspective of how you view things. We was talking to Beach.
It did.
And he's like, man, and this is a conversation we have in our daily lives every day. Every one of us. This is not no new shit. This is not no spectacular high-level conversation.
No.
Right?
Right.
Man, you made a humongous sacrifice going there to support the Ali Summit. Because that shit could have got you killed back then.
Right.
Right? And it definitely could have got your ass kicked off the football team.
100%.
Definitely could have got you kicked out the NFL, the NBA,
100%.
specifically you. Because you're not a franchise player.
Right. Right.
Specifically you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you say, man, that was a hell of a sacrifice. And Beach responded like, no, it really wasn't a sacrifice at all.
One of the most powerful things I've ever heard in my life.
Because that's not where my value asset lied.
Yeah. That hit me immediately in that moment. I was like, damn.
That's what I did.
I
That
got
was
this
not
whole
who I
shit
was.
fucked up. Like I'm backwards on this whole thing.
I'm backwards, right? But think about how many times we had that conversation.
Yes, all the time it's like, oh, we got to be willing to make this sacrifice, and it's like, you don't understand sacrifice,
Or you don't understand value. And I'd argue that that is the preeminent value. We value the capital. We value the fame. We value the likes. We value the thumbs up. We value the comments. We value the shit, right? So, i.e., even social media. Like, there's a book called the DSM. I think it's called the DSM, where they list, like, all of the things that really make somebody out their fucking mind. All the crazy diagnoses. Well, from my understanding, they had to take narcissism out of there. Because with the emergence of social media, everybody becomes a goddamn narcissist. Look at my life. Look at what I'm thinking. And then when you take the words away, going from Facebook to MySpace to whatever the fuck other things existed before Instagram, now you don't even have words. Now it's just look at me. Just look at me. Right? And not only do you just look at me, but look at me and pay me for looking at me. You understand? So when I say even a conversation about, you know, we're such a transactional society, and a lot of times this conversation happens on Relationship Friday, and there's this expectation for you to pay for some box. Like, that's an expectation. And I don't even mean it. I know we got a certain demographic of listener. Like, it goes from, you know, upper echelon in age to very low. But there's a emerging culture out here where, like, you expect to get some box, you got to expect to pay.
100%. There's a lot of people thinking that way. In fact, I want to get into one of the things about that way too. That another thing happened mainstream. I know you have zero idea about this, but I do want to have I'll tell you what the thing is, and I want to have the conversation around a larger construct. But her name is Portia Williams. I think she's a Real Housewife of Atlanta star, and she has done she's made a very, very questionable decision that has a lot of people up in arms about her. She was kind of cool, kind of friends with this girl. Came over to the girl house, met her husband, all this yada, yada, yada. And old girl got a divorce. Now Portia, like, engaged to the dude and maybe pregnant by the dude. But anyway, I want to have that conversation a little bit, but it's another thing I want to ask you about off the break that can't go on the air. We're going to do that over the break. We'll come back, have more conversations. As I say what I said, Herb in 2 till 3. We'll be right back.
WIIFTBPM. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. Sunshines, if you didn't catch the last page in the Book of Dawn, here's what you missed. So you found that, but you also, during those times, made a conscious decision to create a base for yourself outside of the Isleys or the great artists that you tour with. And from that, the Mo Fitz Project was born. Can you tell us how and why you did the Mo Fitz Project?
Let me tell you something. I had been touring since I was 17. And what happened was your girl Eve was doing different events around town. And I remember it was right on 47th Street.
I think it was Blue 47.
One of those spots. So Eve was doing something with them. So they were like, we're hiring bands. I was like, I'm going to put something together and go play locally. Let me do that. And through that situation from Eve, the Mo Fitz Project was birthed. I was like, oh, okay, this would be great to actually come home and put quality guys together and make music locally outside of the touring. I just found another joy in it. And crazy, remember Terrence Kane came up with the Mo Fitz.
Oh, did T.K. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Terrence was like, you need to call it the Mo Fitz, Reese. Mo Fitz. Use your name. This is how that name came about. It was Terrence Kane and my girl Eve Bridgeworth. She was the launching pad for that, and then she would hire me to do different events, and she started hiring me to do weddings and stuff she was doing, and then it just kind of birthed into that.
Don't forget to tune in weekdays 9 a.m. to the Book of Dawn from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studio.
All day. Oh. Whoa. Oh. Whoa. Oh. Check it out. was on the corner trying to scrape up pack money. I was driving 80 stack trucks off rap money. I'm back money. If you want it, come to the hundreds and ask for me. Meet them OGs that'll blast for me. I'm right here. Ill Adidas, $400 jeans on me. Itchy with no safety, a loaded magazine on me. Southside, that's as wild as it gets. And no, I never sold crack. That's some house nigga shit. I'm not judging, but every man that's a man gotta stand by his principles, and I'm not budging. That's Mickey. You can take it how you want, but you can never be me. You can fake it how you want. I spit that uncut raw. You can bake it how you want. Break it down any way you like. You get the same result. Get in tune. The elephant in the room has now assumed pole position. Whoa. Oh. BJ, get him. Come on.
Reporting live from the gutter where that butter get gorillas jobs. That's why we call it work. The same work will get a nigga robbed. I throw my dice against the concrete. If the bitches pass, see you later. Grab my paper, tell her fade and kiss my ass. This the jungle, baby, I'm a lion. Try me, I'll be firing. The same banger, same Private Ryan. You the prey, you survive and hide. Better pray that them vultures and them rovers don't go flying by them. Them other niggas just so-so. How in the birth a nigga this hot in the cold go? I went from 20-inch assassins on that Osmo to the pretty 760 sitting low on them bozos. Those are big shoes, you motherfuckers is so slow. Get caught without your heat in these streets is a no-no. Baby need Pampers, daddy need that photo. It's bread or nothing, big old niggas, you see the logo.
See a nigga alive, and if a nigga claim he better than that nigga, then lied. And if some niggas jump chose, bet them niggas then died. You can always spot a cobra by the look in his eyes. You look at his clique, check out his bitch, and look at his guys. Cause 9 times out of 10, all that tough shit be just for disguise. And that does it. I got the chrome Mac in a black luggage. Cause money ain't the root of evil, Jack is the lack of it. I stay different. I move around like y'all hate women. I'm starting to think this whole industry full of gay bitches. No checkers, it's a chess game. Catch me in the next lane. Fly nigga, bunch of ice on me like my chest ring. All money's pocketed that.
Welcome back, family. We are live from inside the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Howard. This is I Said What I Said on a pretty decent Wednesday in Chicago. I'm starting to get a little impatient with the weather. Like this 55 and all that. It's sunny today and it's cool and I can deal with it, but it's mid-May and I'm ready for, consistent 70s.
Nah, this some sucker shit. I wanted to get out of my bike. I was looking out the window like, oh, it's cracking today.
Yeah.
I stepped outside that back porch like, fuck today.
Okay, it's not, maybe tomorrow.
It's
maybe
freezing
tomorrow.
today.
It's supposed to be like in the 60s or something next week, but raining most of the time. So we gotta. I'm gonna make a few phone calls. We're gonna get some things. We're gonna get some things changed.
Holla at Mythical Sky.
We're gonna get some things done around here
Work
because
this shit out, bro.
I don't really play those type of games, man.
Hey, Mythical Sky Daddy, I need some sunny days around here.
Right, I understand.
Herb Chief around here. He could call Mythical Sky Daddy.
Hey.
As soon as he said I'm finna make some phone calls, I got to thinking.
You had to think about it for a minute though, didn't you? Like, damn, Herb might be able to do it.
Herb being in church, he got God Jesus is on the main line. You
Hey,
know
man,
what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Listen.
Jesus.
I bet you we're gonna get some
It's
things.
on the main
We're gonna
line.
get some things corrected around this camp. I can bet you that. I did the same thing for my birthday, man. I spent like a week or two leading up to my birthday just tripping about the weather. It's supposed to be cold. And I was like, you know what?
Let me go and shoot a text over here to Mystery Sky Daddy.
I'm gonna decide what it's gonna be, and then that's what it's gonna be, and that's what it was.
I ain't mad at man. Hey, holla at him.
You know what I'm saying? Ron, you good in there, man? You like somebody shot your dog, man?
I'm Gucci, man. I'm just tired, man.
You tired?
I told you Ron looked like DMX when he found Islam.
I've been running
He
around.
do.
I got some more running around to do after this.
Stop
What
standing
you gotta do? You gotta go get some bracelets.
or some skates.
Oh, some skates.
You say what?
You know that new show, Meeting the Shaws on Netflix.
No.
What about it?
They doing like a preview, a showing of it, and I'm supposed to be shooting the showing.
Why are you talking?
You video it, he getting his sexy
Really
voice
starting-
on.
Starting to talk like your uncle-in-law.
Taking pictures.
Call
and
him Unc.
Video on the event. That's all.
Who you doing that for?
You know who?
Oh, okay. You a sucker. You really a sucker,
That's
G.
my manager.
You a sucker. I'm tired of you.
That's my manager.
You a sucker. So Ron always talks about this other career he has, photography and filming and all that shit. I said, man, bring the camera in here because you're witnessing greatness.
Right.
If you're smart, you might get some footage of this shit.
Proximity means nothing to
He
people.
don't mean
man.
nothing. He don't
You know
get
what
it.
I'm saying?
He's
You
stupid.
know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? You just see that Cootie and Chica just got $30 million for all that early footage of Kanye? You stupid. You better be paying attention. I'm trying to learn your goof ass.
He don't want it.
He don't want it.
Y'all next up.
He don't want it. He don't get it.
Yeah.
He don't get it.
It is what it is, man. He's setting up his future. Let me stop. Anyhow, go to sleep at night, man.
Jacob Israel, I didn't take that shot. If you talking to me, I didn't take that shot for the mystical virus. I didn't.
Wait, what happened? You took the vaccine?
No, I think he was implying that he thought I took the vaccine shot. I haven't, and I'm not, and I haven't been against it since the beginning. So I don't know what part of that you missed.
How far you think they're gonna go with like restrictions? Like you can't go to Indiana unless you got shot, or you can't go to.
See, I ain't had a driver's license in 20 years. How you think I feel about their rules? Fuck them people. I done bought 4 or 5 cars. You know what I'm saying? I know you can get around the rules.
I whatever. You know, I generally feel that way. I've been considering it. I'm open to some dialogue and thought, but yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah. Two. Let me ask Ron this first, because Ron at least gonna know what I'm talking about. You ain't gonna even have no fucking idea. Ron, you heard about this Porsche shit?
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard she got like she came up off of that.
So
Like a 3-part series.
I don't even be knowing who these people are.
a 3-part series
Yeah.
about what?
Show about her just because of that.
I thought that like just happened. So they already moved on that, huh?
That's how
It just
that's
happened
all
for you.
gotta do.
That's true. Yeah, so all right, so she's on Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? Initially, she got on that show. She was married to Cordell Stewart. Remember the quarterback, Cordell Stewart?
Wasn't he gay?
Perhaps, but they were married.
I'm saying, but wasn't that like the
I'm
looming
saying
rumor?
perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe they.
I have no idea.
You never heard that rumor?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
Didn't Cordell play for the Bears for a minute?
He did play for the best.
Yes, that's definitely the rumor that the dude he was gay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I
Maybe
don't-
he gay, maybe not gay though. I don't know. I'm
He
just
might
saying that was
be.
the rumor. Okay, so his ex-wife.
Right.
Okay.
That's how she initially was introduced to the show as a housewife. She was Cordell Stewart's wife. That shit was hella toxic. Right. What they call it? A beard? They call it a beard.
Something like that. Yeah. Cordell's beard.
She was Cordell's beard. And so
Howard Trout said, yeah, he was a combo platter.
combo platter. A switch hitter.
Oh, God.
Um,
That's hilarious.
Anyway, something's wrong with you. So anyway, she's become one of the more popular people on the show. She's lasted through all the seasons. If I had to choose, because I do watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, and if I had to choose, she's
You ever seen the 40-year version?
yes, but I don't really remember it.
With that scene where they be like, you know how I know you gay?
We said it on the show all the time. Whatever. I don't care. I like Real Housewives of Atlanta.
You know how I know you gay?
You like the movie Made in Manhattan? How?
I saw you make a spinach dip in a loaf of sourdough bread once.
You know how I know that you're gay?
Fuck you, Aaron.
Hey, that's classic TV
Fuck
right
you.
there.
Fuck you.
That's
and
classic.
Fuck you. Who's next?
That's classic TV right there.
No, that's good. But I do like Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay.
It's the one that I like. Anyhow, Portia and Candy are probably my 2 favorite ones on the show. However, Portia just moved. She just moved different, man. She moved different. She's nice looking. She knows she's nice looking.
She a cute girl.
She's nice looking. She knows she's nice looking. She's invested in her body via the gym or the operating room. You know, however she's invested in it. She's a nice looking woman for sure. And she uses that to get her way. You know what I'm saying? But she's also parlayed it into some things. She's got a couple acting things that then popped off. She was one of the hosts of the Ricky Smiley morning show for a while.
She got some very big teeth.
Yeah, you know.
That's the bad surgeon.
Was she born with them or not? I don't know.
No, it's definitely not. Maybe it's Maybelline. Definitely not real.
So anyhow, she's you know, been in and out of a few different relationships or whatever, or situations with some African niggas or some other niggas, and had a baby with this one dude, and they was engaged, and that fell out or whatever. Then on the last season of Real Housewives was like this big old thing that had, it was so petty, but it was just about her fucking this male stripper at one of the bachelorette parties or whatever, right? And they made a big thing about it because I guess they had enough to create content out of for that season.
So she was at the bachelorette party, let the stripper bust her down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quality women, man. Quality.
Hey, what am I gonna say?
I ain't said nothing. I support it.
It's a double standard because if it was a bachelor party, you'd be like, oh, he was at a strip party and he bust a stripper down.
You nasty.
So anyhow, that happened, and but anyways, the thing that's going on now is that she then took some other chick, man. Right? They got this chick and this other cat was together. They got a divorce. The dude is like wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Some African cat. They've been in his crib. House looked stupid, dumb, crazy. And Portia was over there kikiing and hanging out with the wife. I cannot believe I just said kikiing. Yeah. I'm going to hear about that later.
Yeah, you got to hit the button, Ryan. You got to hit the run. You got to be ready and prepared. Sonya would have been ready and prepared.
Nigga, you get.
I cannot. Yeah, I'll take that. But I'm even more so from whatever. God damn it. I got to start changing my behavior. Anyhow,
she nailed dude.
Yeah, but like,
so the long and short of
they
it
like
is,
engaged now. So they posting engagement photos and rings, and
so the long
people
and short
saying
of
she
it
might be
is,
pregnant with the dude baby.
This was her homie's boyfriend or dude.
Husband.
Mm-hmm. They got gone.
Right.
And she found
she like, I'm in
her
there.
way into her homies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I care, but it's symbolic of the culture.
I sleep in that bed now.
It's symbolic of the culture, though, right? It goes back to not having any rooted in any kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Being rooted in anything of substance, right? Like not having any principles, you know. Like if what's the Chris Rock jokes that he says a man is only as faithful as his options.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you ain't faithful at all. You know what I mean? If you're not principled in anything, if you're not rooted in anything, the highest bidder is going to always win. I was watching something the other day, and it was just a movie type of deal, and this dude was like, I don't believe in paid security. And he said, because the minute somebody else comes around with a bigger paycheck, you're not secure no more. And that's real. That's a real thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because your alignment is to the capital, not to the idea.
100%.
Your alignment is to what's in it for me.
100%.
You know what I mean? So, again, and this is not a conversation that we got. It's not just about Portia. Like we might use like social media stars, I guess you could call it. Well, I guess she's on real TV, but you know, whatever we leverage these kind of like public events is really speaking to a dynamic or a culture or energy that's happening at every different level.
Mm-hmm.
You start thinking about Chicago specifically, and you start thinking about the dialect and the language that the shorties use.
Yeah.
Where they call themselves savages.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, when you get to the definition, when you start thinking about that, well, savage has no regard for anything. It's me against
bar
everything.
none.
It's bar none.
Right.
Right? And when you start to ingratiate yourself into them communities and them conversations and them relationships, you start seeing that they don't even have real, genuine friendships anymore.
Nah.
Right? And you dig into some of the stories of murder here and robbery here, be dudes that be hanging out.
It's very rarely from far. It's very rarely a long distance shot.
We've been friends for 15, 20 years, and you the dude just robbing me.
Yeah.
You know, we've been fans. You see it on here. Like when we were just talking about the Joe Budden Business podcast.
Yeah.
And people's like, business is business and family is family.
Yeah.
Well, if they intertwine, then what's more important? Is it the business or the family?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do your principles say is much more valuable? And what we're doing is we're seeing a society of savages because we're not. Our value system is rooted in capital.
Yeah.
Right. It's not rooted in spirituality. It's not rooted in love. It's not rooted in family. It's not rooted in friendship.
Right.
It's rooted in capital.
Right.
So as long as I win with more money, more access, more opportunity, more reasons to stunt, I win.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Jay-Z, Dame Dash. Think about it. You know what I mean? Like for Jay-Z and Dame Dash and Rockefeller to be as public as it still is today, against all odds. That's really their story. Their story was we was against. I said what I said. Fuck the system.
Yeah.
right? They grew something where everybody was against them.
Yeah, Jay said we really was out there record deal. Just wouldn't nobody give us one. So we was like, fuck it, we'll do it on our own.
We'll do it ourselves. So we built something from the ground up, and you see how it's kind of went its separate ways and disjointed or whatever. People can say what they want, but in regards to principles, Dame Dash is the principal one. But in regards to the public response to it, Dame Dash is the dummy.
Right, because the other one got to the bag.
Because the other one gets to the bigger bag.
And that is for each individual to make that decision, right? At least by the way Dame carries it. Now I don't know how he feels in his quiet moments with himself. But at the way he carries it comes across to me that he sleeps well at night. You know what I'm saying? And that's really up to you to be like, yeah, nah, I sleep well knowing I never did no sucker shit, not to fit in, not to get no bread, not to do nothing. And as a person who shares those types of principles and values, I respect it and salute it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you know I'm not so harsh on Jay-Z as you or other people may be. But in terms of Dame, I'm completely with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm aligned with that, bro. Like, yeah, I'm still cool, right? Dame still lives a very, very comfortable life that is well above the scratch line of that most Americans will ever see. You know what I'm saying? And I've never done no sucker shit. You know what I'm saying? And so there's value there. Like, if I gotta make a decision between 100 million and sucker shit or 10 million and real shit, I'm gonna have $10 million every single time. That's just me though, and I'm okay with laying my head on a bed in a smaller house than you, as long as you are okay laying on your head in a bigger house than me, having done fuck shit. You probably cool with that, and society will tell me that 75-80% of the society is gonna be cool with that and applauding you and being like, yo, you dumb as shit, and that's okay for me and the 20% of people who think that way.
I think 20 is very aggressive.
Probably.
Right. I'm thinking 6, 5, 4 at best. Right. But it's also those 6, 5, 4 that radically change the world. And they look crazy to everybody else, but in a lot of ways, you got to be crazy to change the world. You know what I mean? But I think that we're in a moment in time where that is the dominant, not just the dominant idea, because I think that's the dominant idea always, to kind of assimilate to whatever the social construct is. But again, when we talk about race and racism and class and classism and all those things, we're in an interesting time in history of mankind. Yeah. Right? The resources are so out of balance. And not only are the resources so out of balance, what makes this such an interesting time in just human existence, it's the least of thee who are championing this energy.
Of course.
When it's usually the least of thee who say, no, fuck that. We got to go get ours.
Yeah.
Right? It's change comes from discomfort. Right now, though, the discomfortable among us are championing the behaviors of the people who are making you discomfortable. We finna, because real quick. I gotta go on, finish. I'm gonna find this, but I want to play this video because I think is that statement I just made is a great transition.
For sure. You know what's more uncomfortable than the actual state of things? It's more uncomfortable for people to be looked at as less than, as not having shit. In this day and age, the most uncomfortable thing I can do is be viewed as not having shit. It's more uncomfortable than not having shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, not having shit is one level of discomfort. But for people to know that I don't have shit is even more uncomfortable. And so as long as I can keep up the facade of me having something, then I'm cool with actually not having shit. And that's kind of the age that we living in now. The top 1% couldn't influence everybody else if we didn't fucking uphold that shit. We uphold that shit for them to kind of move that way. And that's just what it is. But, you know, I think that, but that's also why you see like these shorties, they so aspirational about getting to the bag. And you just said shorties, they'll do their best friend for what? I'm scared to put a number on it because I think it might be too high. But they'll get their best friend done for 5 stacks for sure.
500.
That's what I was kind of thinking that too, right? But if you would do your friend for 500 or 5 stacks, what the fuck make you think that motherfucker ain't gonna snitch on you when them folks getting behind that wall telling them they got 40 years over his head? What the fuck make you think that? You know what I'm saying? But it's just, that's not how people are. That's not how people are built. That's not where their allegiances lie. That's not what they grounded or rooted into. Me, if we did it, bro. And if I got caught, then I got caught. And I'm not finna be like, yo, 2, come out. They caught us. Like, no, the fuck they didn't. They caught you, dumbass. I'm still over here behind the bush. You snitching ass fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's pretty much how people. That's how people move, and they move that the same way with money. Like, you couldn't just come to me like, yo, I got $20 million deal for I say what I said to split, or I got $50 million for you to come over and do this other thing. Fuck you, fam. Like, that's not how I'm gonna move. And yeah, it's very, very easy for me to say that when ain't nobody offering me $50 million right now. But I've had experiences where it was my loyalty was tested, monetarily speaking, and I've always passed that test. And I just don't see it. I don't see it being different for me because, you know, I just don't value it that way. Ron, he hooked up to the road. I don't know if I got you over here.
I just thought about you. Probably don't have me over there.
I do's not. Hey, you know, I gotta stop playing. So you know how you say you play around and say things for a certain way so many times that just becomes how you say it. This year I started adding S's to things just because I thought it was funny, like pantses.
Doing what black people traditionally do.
Yeah, I forgot who was first saying pantses, but somebody made me. I thought it was funny. I've been saying pantses all year, right? The other day I was reading something, or I was about to say something, and I literally said fishes, and I felt dumb as shit. Like I gotta stop playing.
The mooses.
Yeah, like I gotta stop playing. So when I just said I do's not, I'm like, see, there you go with this playing with this S again. I need to stop because I'm gonna start saying fishes and stuff a lot, and that's a problem. But I got your video over here. You can play it whenever you're ready.
So check this out, man. This is a video from Tucker Carlson, the Fox News guy, and this historian called Rutger Bregman, right? So Rutger Bregman was at I think it was don't quote me, but I think it was a environmental event.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago, and he blasted all the billionaires in the room. Like, these motherfuckers was getting flown in private jets to come talk about the environment. Like,
right.
The audacity.
Y'all took 37 planes to come over here and do this for 37 people.
And he was like, this is some bullshit. Y'all wealthy and y'all enjoy your wealth. So miss me with the shit y'all care. Y'all don't really truly care.
Period.
So Tucker Carlson sees that, and he brings him on the show. He thinks it's a great guest to have, yada, yada, yada. And then he shits on Tucker Carlson in the same way. Like, you're full of shit, too. You're a millionaire taking, you know, your stands from billionaire ideas, and it goes crazy. So everybody likes a truth teller until they start telling the truth about your ass.
Let me throw this caveat in there because it's the same thing you just said. And I'm sorry, I do this all the time, especially on Wednesdays. The Wire, right? It's a scene from The Wire when Omar is at the trial. He's on the bench. He's testifying against Bird in his murder trial, and Bird's lawyer is telling him, he's asking Omar. He like, aren't you sitting here talking about this dude for killing somebody? He said, but aren't you the same type of person? He's like, you're a Moro. You leech off the culture of drugs and murder in this city. You robbing those who are themselves are robbing the bloodlight from our city. And Omar said, hold on, fam. Just like you. It's like, just like you. And the lawyer looked shocked as hell. He said, just like me. He said, yeah. He's like, I got the shotgun. You got the briefcase. It's all in the game, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same shit.
Everybody like a truth teller until they start telling the truth about your ass.
Right.
So let's rock this out.
Go ahead.
It's not very convincing, to be honest.
Why don't you go yourself, you tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
You can't handle the criticism, can you? We gotta be talking about Texas. That's it. Texas, Texas, Texas. All the rest is bullshit, in my opinion.
I mean, it feels like I'm at a firefighter's conference and no one's allowed to speak about water. That's one of the great moments, maybe the great moment in Davos history. Rutger Bregman is the author of Utopia for Realists, and he joins us now. Mr. Bregman, I can't stop laughing just listening to that. And part of it makes me wonder, are you the first person ever to note that people are flying private to talk about global warming and that none of them mention tax avoidance? Has anyone ever said that before at Davos that you know of?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Davos history, but it is a bit hypocritical, isn't it?
We buddy now.
And others have noted that. We've noted it on this show. We've just never gone to Davos and said it out loud as you did. So if I was wearing a hat, I would take it off to you. What response did you get?
Wow. Look at this.
94% of people believe company culture is important to.
You can skip it now.
I mean, they were not very happy with me, but I'm just I think a random Dutch historian who's basically saying whatever around the globe is thinking. You know, the vast majority of Americans, for years and years now, according to the polls, including Fox News viewers and including Republicans, are in favor of higher taxes on the rich. You know, higher inheritance taxes, higher top marginal tax rates, higher wealth taxes. It's all really mainstream. But no one's saying that at Davos, just as no one's saying it on Fox News, right? And I think the explanation for that is quite simple, is that most of the people in Davos, but also here on this channel, have been bought by the billionaire class. You know, you're not meant to say these things. So I just went there and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to say it, just as I'm saying it right here on this channel.
Well, what was interesting, I thought, about what you said was you noted something. I mean, many people have called for higher taxes, but very few.
Well, not on this channel, is it? I mean, almost all of the pundits on this channels for years have been against higher taxes, right? Even though the vast majority of Americans is in favor of it.
I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to know how many hours of Fox you've watched, but I'm interested in what you said about tax avoidance. So
yeah.
I mean, just because someone faces a specific tax rate does not mean that person pays that tax rate at all. I don't think Netflix, for example, paid any taxes last year at all. So what would you do specifically to make certain that this class of people pays what they're supposed to pay?
Well, it's about multiple things. So we should really crack down on tax paradises and on tax avoidance. That's a major issue. But it's also about having higher taxes. So in the 1950s, for example, in the 1960s, in the golden age of capitalism, as historians called it, we had top marginal tax rate for the very rich of about, 70, 80, 90%. Actually under Eisenhower, the Republican president. And this was also, one of the best periods in American history. Same is true for the UK and the rest of Europe. So as a historian, for me, it's all not, it's really not rocket science. We should just go back to simple and straightforward solutions from the past.
Right, but this country was sustained, and since you're a historian, I guess you would know this, sustained by an industrial economy at the time that was broad and deep. That created a middle class. That doesn't exist anymore. So it's an entirely different economy. I wish it did exist.
Oh well, but that's not really an issue. I mean,
work the same way with an entirely different economy?
Well, I think it would. I mean, America is still pretty much the most powerful country in the world, right? So if it really would want to, it could easily crack down on tax paradises. But the thing is, I mean, you guys have brought into power a president that doesn't even want to show its own tax returns. I mean, who knows how many billions he has hidden in the Cayman Islands or in Bermuda. So I think the issue really is one of corruption and of people being bribed and of not being, not talking about the real issues. What the family, what the Murdochs basically want you to do is to scapegoat immigrants instead of talking about tax avoidance. So I'm glad you're now finally raising the issue, but that's what's been happening for the past couple of years.
And I'm taking orders from the Murdochs. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, it doesn't work that directly. But I mean, you've been part of the Cato Institute, right? You've been a senior fellow there for years. You've been taking their dirty money. They're funded by cock billionaires,
Wait, why don't you tell me how it does work?
Well, it works by you taking their dirty money. It's as easy as that. I mean, you are a millionaire funded by billionaires. That's what you are. And I'm glad you now finally jumped the bandwagon, of people like Bernie Sanders and AOC. But you're not part of the solution, Mr. Carlson. You're part of the problem, actually.
AOC, wait, but can I just say, and
I don't like that.
It's true, right? It's true, right? That all the anchors on Fox, they're all millionaires. How is this possible? Well, it's very easy. You're just not talking about certain things.
Fox doesn't even play where you are.
It doesn't play where you are? Well, have you heard of the internet? I can watch things whatever I want, I have, actually. I can't say I'm a great fan of your show, but I do my homework when you invite me on your show. So, I mean, you're probably not going to air this, but I went to Davos to speak truth to power, and I'm doing exactly the same thing right now. You might not like it, but you're a millionaire funded by billionaires, and that's the reason why you're not talking about these issues.
Keep it a buck, young fella.
But I am talking about these issues.
Yeah, only now. Come on, you jumped the bandwagon. You're all like, oh, I'm against the globalist elite, blah, blah, blah. It's not very convincing, to be honest.
Why don't you go yourself,
you
tiny
tight.
brain, and I hope this gets picked up, because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
You can't handle the criticism, can you?
Yeah, man.
You know you tight when you go there with it.
Yeah,
When-
white folks.
Yeah, you tight now. Like, fuck you, you.
Scatterbrained moron. But the sentiment plays out in our community too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The sentiment is that, you know, on one hand, we praise the Jays, the Tamika Mallory's, the whomevers, and they're operating in this kind of activist, kind of black power, kind of like, you know, for the people positioning with a very unilateral capitalistic vision of how that works.
Right.
You can't have it both ways, bro.
Yeah, but it's easy to pull the wool over people's eyes when they are beholden to the same aspirations as you.
I'm not disagreeing.
You know what I'm saying? When motherfuckers on the same shit you on, it's easy for you to be on that and be like, nah, I ain't on that.
But they bank on people always being in that polarity. Tucker Carlson called him because he was like, shit, I can use this, not expecting him to call his own bluff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, not them. You too.
Yeah.
Okay? You too. Here go a mirror I'm going to hold up for you too.
It's not a them. It's everybody in this position.
It's everybody. I say it all the time. No single drop of water thinks it's responsible for the flood, G. And it's like, yes, the fuck you are, fam. Like, you too. Oh, no, I'm just a little drop of water. Yes, that's fine. A whole bunch of drops of water flooded New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you too. You are a part of this shit. And I don't know how to get each individual water drop to remove themselves enough to where it's not flooding no more, but it certainly ain't for each of those drops to be like, I ain't got shit to do with it, man. It's bigger than this. This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. You know what I'm saying? It's
bigger than Nino Brown.
It's bigger than Nino Brown. I'm taking everybody with me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not though.
Yeah, but I think it's again the historian guy is the anomaly though.
You sitting there like, I hate globalists.
Right, but the historian guy is a disruptor. Those are anomalies. You know what I mean? For someone to say, no, you full of shit too. Not even just being on Tucker Carlson's show. He goes to the Devo Summit, which is like preeminent.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
For sure.
And he's invited there to speak.
Who is dude that he's got this kind of like cachet to go even go to the Devo Summit and then, you know what I mean? Who is he?
So he's a Dutch historian, and this comment is what put him in the sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in the public sphere. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's at that institute and he's saying, man, y'all just took private planes here. Y'all is full of shit. I.e., someone else picked that up. Like even what it was playing on, what was that?
But I mean to be there though. You know what I mean?
I agree. But it's again, I've sat in rooms that I had to ask myself how I get there.
Yeah, that's real.
Right?
But then once you're there, how am I gonna show up?
How am I gonna show up? And most times how people show up is like, well,
I'm a shrink.
Let me not rock the boat so I can get in where I fit in.
But he stood up and beat his chest.
So he stood up and beat his chest. And wanted the door open for him, right? Mm-hmm. But being honest, this door open for him too, and he beat his chest on there. Now, this never saw the light of day. This is a leaked video.
He knew it wouldn't.
He knew it wouldn't. But think about that.
But somebody who works for Fox.
Or whatever, however it happened, right? But what I'm saying
That's in their production room.
What I'm saying is him beating his chest at the conference got him another conversation. That other conversation got shut down by the media conglomerate because the media is controlled by them same people. This never sees the light of day, i.e. some of the value of the internet. You can find ways to get messaging out that wasn't supposed to get out.
Right.
But if these people dominate the conversation and they can dictate who gets a voice and who doesn't get a voice, my Facebook right now is under 30-day month ban. Right. At first I thought that shit was comical, hee ha ha. But even in regards to how we market the podcast,
like we need you to have a voice.
I need to have my Facebook page. You know what I mean? Because without my Facebook page, our viewership drops down tremendously. You know what I mean?
When we first used to do this just off your Facebook page, we have shows with 10, 12,000 people just watching this shit.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
It was always.
But my point is, and I said this a while ago when Twitter got Donald Trump off Twitter. You cheer and you champion that dumbass shit, but that's not good. Because you're devaluing the reality of the power that the social media sites have, right? And when you say that freedom of speech is you can dictate who deserves and who shouldn't have freedom of speech, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And that's ignorant. But we don't know. So we champion shit that we shouldn't champion. But that's more controlled media, right? So you got, 6 families that control all the fucking media?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that ain't no hard shit to control. I can get on the phone and call 6 people in less than 10 minutes.
We all partners, fam.
Yeah, we all know each other.
We all partners.
This is the only messaging we're going to allow.
Ain't too many people with 100 billion. It's us.
It's us.
What's up, fam?
Right? And we're going to dictate what conversations get out and don't get out.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And you get this brother, the Dutch brother, who says, hey, man, y'all full of shit. Now, who knows about that summit? Who knows about that conference? Nobody. Ain't nobody paying attention. Nobody know that shit but the people who are really, linked into that, right? Now, Fox News has a tremendous following. So he gets the opportunity to come on Fox because in Tucker Carlson's mind, it fits the narrative Tucker Carlson wants to sell. But he didn't. He was a little bit deeper than Tucker expected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he goes in and say, no, man, you're full of shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not only are you full of shit, but even me being on Fox Radio, Fox News, I'm not afraid to say you're full of shit.
Period.
Right?
And I know y'all ain't gonna air this.
No,
but I'm still gonna speak truth to power.
But twofold though. One, how does that voice usually get out when that's the kind of the power system that the media is?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Two, if they control the narrative, what's really happening here? And what are we really aligning ourselves with to follow? And I'm not saying we're following Fox News or Tucker Carlson, but it works the same as CNN. It works the same in MSNBC. It works the same at BET if that's the only shit you tuned into. It works the same.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So if that's the case, who's controlling the narrative?
Yeah.
It's not us. So if you're not operating from a paradigm of I said what I said and fuck what the rules are, you're probably fucking yourself over. Because the whole construct is about control and domination.
Compliance.
That's it.
Compliance, G. Everybody complicit in the shit. Like, and it ain't no middle ground for this. This is not a thing that you can straddle the fence on. Like, either you about ending this fucking oppressive ass system or you're compliant. It ain't no both. And not on this, right? And so dude is like, yeah, I know you brought me on here because, there's this, lightning rod comment that I made at the summit, right? But I ain't just talking about them. I'm talking about your ass too. I'm talking about the whole entire thing as a whole. You do that sometimes when we talking about like the police, right? And, I'm always, anti-police and the police this and the police that. And you be like, yeah, that's all true. But that's really, it ain't just them, right? That's really just the low-hanging fruit because they're on the front lines of a larger thing.
For me, they don't matter.
Yeah.
They don't matter at all.
They matter to me a great deal. But I do get your point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, it's just like, nah, that's.
But even in the context
they
of this
pawns at the end of the day.
I said, for me, they don't matter. For you, they matter a great deal. But in the lexicon of the public conversation, they become the preeminent force or point of focus. Mm-hmm. They're not the point of focus. They're not a power group.
They're not calling shots.
They're not calling shots. No. They're not a power group.
No.
Right? That's like taking over the corner from the corner boy thinking the fight is over. That's not the end of this.
No. Hell no.
He don't mean shit. He had 2 bags in his pocket. You think he matters?
No.
He had a bag in his pocket. Think about that.
That part. He touches the dope.
Yeah, like, come on, man. They don't matter.
Yeah, no. I feel that 100%. My thing with that is, okay, I understand that you are not the person who called the shot, who sent you over here to slap me, choke me, or punch me in the face. Mm-hmm. Right? And I definitely have to get to that person if I'm going to stop all the slapping, kicking, and punching. But, motherfucker, you the one right here slapping and kicking me and punching me. So I got to beat your ass first. Okay, I got to get you the fuck up off me. Then I'll make you tell me where the fuck you came from and then or who sent you. Then I'll go deal with who sent you. But first, I got to get this motherfucker that's on me off me.
I feel that. I've always been a fan of hitting the biggest nigga in the group. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's going to shut this whole shit down once I knock his ass out. Well, I ain't got to worry about the little ones.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's just a difference in approach.
I feel that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a difference in approach.
Well, no, I feel that. Man, that's I like dude. I'm a follow. What was his name again? Did it say?
Salim just gave a dissertation on who he is in the comments.
Dang. Let me see what Salim had to say.
But I can't find.
Okay, he's Rutger Bregman, a Dutch historian who is a prominent admirer of Thomas Piketty, a prominent critic of capitalism. Carlson's research team should have been up on him. So Carlson's research team sent him out to the wolves. Like, Dude ain't come here for that. Like, y'all trying to get this little funny, ha-ha, you shitted on the rich boys. Fam, first of all, you too, okay? You can get the smoke too, all right? You a millionaire because them same dudes I was talking about pay you to be, and you do they fucking bidding for them. So don't come in here laughing with me when you under the same act. Mm-hmm. And Carlson wasn't ready for that. And he stumbled over his words because he wanted to try to respond for a minute. And he's going to try and, like, respond reasonably. And then once that didn't work, he went complete 5-year-old on him. Like, well, fuck you, you piece of shit. You don't know nothing. And yada, yada, yada. It's like, dude was like, oh, you don't like the criticism, huh? I like dude.
But one of the things he said, though, it's not rocket science.
It's not.
Right? This shit ain't as difficult as everybody makes this shit seem.
It is not.
It's not. But what is rocket science is the human brain structure and the shit that we value. And that's really where this shit always lies. I say it all the time. The only real power is the people. Having the attention of the people is the real power.
That's it.
I.e., why those 6 people who control media, that shit is very important, right? You got to ask yourself, does government control the country, or does the media control the country? Because they can dictate how you feel about government.
For sure.
You know what I mean? They can dictate how you feel about anything they want you
to
dictate how you feel about.
For sure.
And I think we don't give that its just due, specifically in our community. I don't think we fully grasp and understand what that means.
I agree.
Media and messaging dictates behavior. It really does.
Absolutely.
So, when we see the shorties on the block making drill music and shooting each other up and all that shit, you got to ask yourself, is that the dog wagging his tail, or is that the tail wagging the dog?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because over eons and eons of messaging and imaging, they've been depicted as these savage beasts.
Yeah.
And how long does it take for you to interpret that message and kind of make it your reality?
You start to accept it as the truth. Yeah. It just don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You start to accept it as the truth. That's the only
thing that you're tuned into.
Especially, but also in conjunction with all of the efforts to ensure that you don't go thinking something else, right? It ain't like we just all kind of landed on this one idea and accepted it as fact. Even through the repetitive messaging that we get via media. But I mean, when you go outside of that, and what you see, what you have seen that happens to everyone who has gone outside of that, like, I'm going to think for myself, I'm going to study for myself, and I'm going to draw my own conclusions. There's a great effort put into destroying those people, right?
Yeah, with feelings. I just feel like we laugh at that in here. That's like a running joke in here. But think about how many times you've had conversations with or debates with people, and that's how they come. That's the first words they start with. I just feel like really has no bearing in the conversation.
Nobody ask you what you feel, fam.
Yeah, but because we're not engaged, we don't really necessarily go outside of the confines of where we're comfortable. Mm-hmm. We don't know any different. So, and when I say we don't go outside the confines of where we're comfortable, just like I just played a Fox News video. Mm-hmm. Well, in our community, traditionally, Fox has a very racist positioning, and not too many of us are tuned in to Fox News. Mm-hmm. But if you at war, it would behoove you to understand what the other side is thinking.
Yeah.
You should be paying attention to
what your enemy is as well as you know yourself.
Yeah, but we don't do that. So we only getting messaging. Think about this. Like, there are as many realities as there are people. That's just real.
That's for sure.
Right? There are as many realities as there are people. So if you get into a situation where we got, 800-900 cable channels, when we was over there with Brian that day and he started busting down something, I was like, what is this? This is a whole nother
unlimited,
side of
right?
A TV
a whole
that I've never
nother network.
even heard of.
Right.
And if you got that many people angling for attention, right? And you still got the 6 people who control media. So it ain't really that many people. It's just that many platforms to give your ass to kind of speak to you in a way that message reaches home. Right. I got 600 opportunities to talk to one human being in a kind of way to get him to fall in line with the behaviors that I want him to fall in line with. And if you're not leveraging or accessing other types and kinds of information, if you're not focused in, or if you're not quiet and you can internally go in and find some level of deep information or most of us are just going through the motions. And shit becomes the truth. Right? If you're not doing a deep dive, then you become a victim. You're just a follower of whatever the information they put out there. I.e. the vaccine conversation is right now. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you shouldn't or you should. But what I'm saying is the fact that we're having the kind of hesitations that we have is because there are people out here that question where we are right now. And when you start looking at trajectories and histories and what happened in the past, how this vaccine has been rolled out, whether vaccine's good, how you feel about them, good, bad, and different, this has not met the standards of those past vaccinations. Right? But because they've dominated our mindset and our behavior set with fear, you got to hold. Me and my wife at odds right now because she wants my children to get vaccinated, and I'm not fucking going. Now, she wouldn't get vaccinated. You grown, I can't stop you. But that ain't happening. That shit ain't happening. But, you know, I'm the only one in the house that had COVID, if that's what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But here I'm telling you, like, look how I walked through this shit or whatever. My personal experience means nothing to what she deems as the authority. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta be willing to study the opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't really. Again, I feel like, you know what I'm saying. Okay, how you feel does not matter. Okay, study the opponent and then move appropriately. Right? We make sports analogies all the time. Right? You don't like you leading up in the week of a game. I'm spending all my time studying the other team's film. I know what the fuck I want to do, right? But the game plan that I actually implement is going to be based solely upon the information I get from studying the other team, right? It ain't just like I ain't just wake up like, you know what? I kind of want to. I want to throw the ball 50 times this week. I don't give a fuck what you want to do, okay? The way to beat this team is to run it 50 times a week, and that's what we're gonna do. I honed a lot of my debate skills were sharpened and honed on Sunday nights inside a little bitty classroom at Urbana High School in Central Illinois, coaching high school football. And you come to these coaches' meetings every Sunday night, and we put everything on the board, and we come up with the game plan for how we're going to go about attacking this team for the upcoming week. And we got to implement this on Monday and throughout the week. And you talk about 12 grown-ass men, all with huge egos, all who think they know the game very, very well, have played at various levels, debating about how we should go about putting this thing in, was fucking every week you was gonna leave that motherfucker with a headache. Like, I hate all y'all ass. You know what I'm saying? Or 3 of y'all hate everybody else, or 4 of y'all hate, you know what I mean? It was like that every single time. And generally, it came from a difference of values and what it is we're trying to get at. Me, I just want to fucking win the game, right? But one particular season, we had a quarterback who was a freshman in high school, but his father, he had just moved there from out of town. He moved there from out of town because his father had just become the head coach at the University of Illinois, which is up the street from the high school, right? And so he enrolls at the school, and so now y'all want to make him starting quarterback because y'all want to be in good with his daddy because y'all want to move on to Illinois and go coach there. I just want to win this fucking football game, okay? And y'all want to tell me, hey, we're going to throw the ball around, we're going to run 5 wide receivers and put this 14-year-old back. I'm like, first of all, y'all going to get him fucking killed, okay? That's number one. We don't have an offensive line to do that. Y'all going to get him fucking killed. Second of all, it ain't going to fucking work. Like, our team is built to run, but y'all got different aspirations. Man, these arguments would go on all the fucking time, and it was like ridiculousness because are we aligned at the base level? Then if we are, again, that will be your North Star for everything else you do. But if it's about something else, you're going to have a bunch of infighting that's going to ultimately result in this fucking thing not working. It ain't that difficult.
But it is. Right? And I'm going to say it is because
it's complex, but it's complex simplicity.
It's complex because there's 2 competing philosophies at play. Right? If you all don't have a common idea, then it's difficult than a motherfucker. The competing philosophies is that you was there for the purity of the game at that level. They saw an opportunity to get into another opportunity. You know what I mean? And that creates a different kind of goal. You know what I mean? And it becomes very complex, i.e. the failure in black relationships, i.e. the failure in marriages is no fucking different, right? So at the end of the day, you know, and I'm not vested in the relationship conversation, but this is just an easy way to explain this shit. Like at the end of the day, we have these kind of white social norms. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
The house, 2 cars, 2 kids, and picket fence and the dog.
And if that's where you coming from,
and I'm
coming from another space.
But going back to marketing and how media dictates understanding,
that's the goal.
That's what marriage is deemed or seen as.
That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Nobody outwardly looks at marriage and say, "Hey, I want to struggle with you."
All right.
Nobody thinks about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody says, I mean, that's not the colloquialism. That's not the moniker. Hey, I want to learn from that. I don't even want to learn from you. I just want the picket fence, the house, the 2 cars, the dog, and the garage.
Because I'm told that's what I want. That don't even really have to make me happy.
That's right. Someone's telling you that's the narrative that you should be aligning.
I'm not even really that type of person. But
that's the narrative behind it. Right? Now, the reality behind it is, Boosie just sent me these numbers about St. Louis, but I think they're kind of universal across the country, right? The median net worth in black households is lower, with 2 earners is lower than $60,000. That picket fence shit out of there. Them 2 cars probably out of there too. If you got 2 kids, you shouldn't have a dog if you got $60,000 because you can't afford.
We ain't feeding nobody else, fam.
You can't afford the dog, right? So here's my reality, but here's what my philosophy, my ideas is set and rooted in. So I'm not dealing with my reality. I'm dealing with the construct of the idea that I'm rooted in. But somebody there got to be dealing with the reality, right? Here's the reality. How do we feed the 2 kids we got? How do we keep this apartment with a door on it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
How do we do those things?
Right.
And, you know, you got to struggle through finding that level of balance between the two. But if you can't commit, one person just blames the other for the failure.
Period.
That's just how it just works that way.
Yeah.
Because, again, going back to what we said earlier, it's very difficult to look in the mirror and say, this is me.
Nobody likes that.
That's the hard part of this journey.
Yeah.
This is me.
Yeah.
Now, if this is me and I want to be someone else, what do I need to do to create the kind of energy that's going to propel me to be that someone else?
What happens when this is you comes from somebody else before you come to that own realization on your own?
This is you probably comes from somebody else all the time.
But until you come to that realization on your own, is it going to be enough to impact the way you behave?
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to buy into the message. Be clear. That's what the media does.
No. I'm operating from everybody subscribe to that. I'm saying to get out of that, right? Or to hold yourself accountable in other ways. Somebody else can be like, yo, so you need to do this, that, and the third. But until you like, I need to do this, that, and the third, everything else is just kind of outside noise, and it doesn't really impact the way I move just yet.
Unless whoever that someone else is someone that you respect. Right? But if your value system, if your respect is predicated on things, then who the fuck is that? It's more media influences. Will Smith said I should.
Right.
Jay-Z says I should.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
My grandma's wisdom goes out the door now.
Don't matter.
The fuck is grandma's wisdom?
She ain't got to the bag.
She ain't got no bag. I've heard people say that. If you ain't got more than me, you can't talk to me.
That's stupid.
It's very stupid.
But it is a very, very real and prevailing thought throughout our country. Anyway, man, we got to bounce. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this Wednesday edition of I Said What I Said. Lil Ron, you made it, my brother? You made it through? Yeah. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, y'all's input was valued. It was appreciated, except Boosie and Howard. Y'all's input was not valued. It was not appreciated. Y'all can keep that to yourself. I'm kidding, of course. But we'll see y'all back here on Friday for Relationship Friday. Make sure I get up early tomorrow. Oh, tonight. That's what I was about to tell y'all. Tonight, hang out on the network tonight starting at 6 p.m. Chris the Critic leading right into It's the Zone with Brian Foster, and then Week Hold Wednesday with Reese and Toy. For LaRon Rilla, Toussaint Werner, my name is Herb Howard. We'll catch y'all on Friday. Until then, y'all be good to each other. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
WIFTBPM.
Like that chronic, I need something stronger. Molly cute, that's like an aspirin for my daughter. big time in the club with a case of